and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
My friends at Global Coin present the 2024 $50 Gold Eagle, a rich symbol of prestige and integrity, minted at the renowned West Point Mint and graded a perfect Mint State 70 by NGC. This coin is comprised of a 1 ounce of 22 karat gold, featuring the classic 1907 Augustus St. Gaudens design on the obverse and the compelling family of eagles on the reverse. This is heritage in your hands. Act now and elevate your collection with this iconic piece at the spot price of gold and receive the added benefit of free shipping and a 30-day money-back guarantee from Global Coin. Text COIN to 717767 to get a link to buy these beautiful coins. Don't miss this chance. Text COIN to 717767 to get a link to buy now, or call Global Coin at 844-595-9599 to claim your piece of history. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View for a little ladies' tea. Tonight we are joined by political commentator Sabrina Kosmas and the Daily Caller's Mary Rooke. Ladies, welcome in. We had such a nice evening on November 5th. We had a lot of glow, I feel, in the aftermath of that. And I think that what people have started to feel is like you can really breathe again in America. Mm-hmm. I think there are a lot of people who feel like a weight was truly lifted off of them. But I think what's been interesting to me is to see the way that people have really embraced Donald Trump and their support of Donald Trump. I mean, my gosh, everywhere you go out there, including the UFC fight, you got people doing the Trump dance. I absolutely love it. It's on football fields. It's everywhere you go. And I've seen a lot more people more apt to wear their MAGA hats, etc. Right? People are really embracing Donald Trump, and they're finally feeling like it's a time in America where you can openly talk about supporting Donald Trump, which I love. But it's confusing, Sabrina, a lot of people. One of those people is a gentleman from the Breakfast Club, the show that I very famously went on and probably will never be invited back to, although I'm always available. Charlemagne, he was very confused, Sabrina, because he said, well, wait a minute, I don't understand this. Donald Trump went to the White House and it was sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I think they were together for like 2 hours. Everybody smiles. It was great. And so Charlemagne, I don't disagree with this, was like, well, wait a minute. What happened to the fascist talk? What happened to him people saying that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, which, by the way, how many times did we hear Joe Biden, Sabrina, say that very thing? He's a little confused as to why all of a sudden people are like, well, Trump won. Yeah, never mind about calling him Hitler. Are you surprised that there's been a bit of silence on all that talk from the other side of the aisle, Sabrina?
Definitely a little bit, but honestly, shout out to you, Lara, for going toe-to-toe with Charlemagne the Fraud. Because the man claims to be so in the loop on everything, and he has spent the last 8 years suffering from Trump derangement syndrome and just in denial of the facts that you clearly laid out when you went on the show. I was super impressed.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So it's kind of refreshing for him to finally see a little bit of a wake up after 8 years of just assuming that Trump is this horrible person that the media has made him out to be. I am kind of surprised that he admitted it out loud, especially after how long did he spend just in denial and assuming that he was a racist, a sexist, and all the things that they threw at him. But it's pretty frustrating to then see, we had Joe Biden going from calling him basically Nazi garbage and all his followers garbage to then within 2 weeks, he's smiling with them in the Oval Office. I'm not going to lie, I get a little frustrated by it, but it's at least better than the alternative of what we were saying 2 weeks ago.
But Mary, I think it really proves to a lot of people, maybe people who didn't even vote for Donald Trump this go around, although a lot of people did. He won the popular vote. I'll go ahead and remind everyone out there of that by about 5 million votes. It kind of speaks to the fact that a lot of these people, Mary, who went on television, who wrote in newspapers, what have you, really put all of this out there into the universe that Donald Trump is this horrible person, a threat. I mean, one could possibly argue that rhetoric is the reason that there were 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump. Yet all of a sudden, these people are like, well, never mind. Now we're done talking about that. wasn't it all fake from the beginning? Didn't they all know, Mary, that Donald Trump is not a threat to democracy? He's not going to round people up and put them in internment camps. My God, all this crazy stuff that they threw out there. I think they even knew while they were saying it that it was all wrong and that they were just lying to the American people. And now they're eerily silent whenever Donald Trump has been unanimously elected as president of the United States.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's the whole point. They knew what they were saying was a lie, but they were hoping that it was a lie big enough to derail his campaign and what he was speaking to everybody, when he was going to all these stops around the country. And I think that it's really funny. I don't know if you saw this morning or Monday morning that whenever he went, we had the people from MSNBC on Morning Joe go to Mar-a-Lago and start, and they're like,
we're going to bring this up. Yeah.
We're going to open up communication lines between the president. We haven't spoken to him face to face in 7 years. And it's like, even they understand. I mean, maybe it's the lack of viewership. Maybe it's Charlemagne the God getting, tons of phone calls coming in, going, stop shilling for Kamala Harris. We're not believing anything that she's saying. Because although he didn't pull the, black female vote, he did pull a lot of the black male vote, and a lot of black voters stayed home because they did not believe in voting for a Democratic candidate this time. And I think a lot of that has to go with the fact that they didn't believe the rhetoric. They don't believe that he's going to go round up black people. I mean, I saw things as crazy as them saying that if you are in an interracial marriage, that Donald Trump is going to separate you and make you get divorced and put you in camps and all of these crazy things. I mean, the rhetoric got so bad and people were just tuning it out. And I think that they realized that in order to save themselves from this mass exodus of not only voters, but viewership, they're going to have to come around to the other side and be more in the middle. And the funny thing is just watching Joe Biden's face be so happy. And I know a lot of people said this, but you haven't seen him this happy in 4 years. And then here he is sitting next to the threat of democracy, smiling from ear to ear and joking with him about the abusive press and all of those things. I thought it was a great moment for the Republican Party, a great moment for President Trump, and a great moment for America, honestly.
Amen. Yeah, listen, I think that these people in some ways maybe are a little nervous that they don't want to remind us of all the lies they truly told us over the past, I'm going to say 2 years, because Donald Trump announced he was running for president again in November of 22. Don't forget, he came out very early, announced he was running again. And from that moment, all the way up until November 5th, man, they threw everything at the wall. The whole thing, by the way, about the interracial marriage stuff is just so insulting, I feel like, to the American people. And the thing I wondered the whole time is like, okay, we had Donald Trump for 4 years in the White House. You guys are really trying to sell people on the idea that he's going to do any of this crazy stuff. By the way, the Project 2025 stuff that they ran and went really hard with. I think that they're actually worried, the people who peddled these lies, that if they start talking about it again and continue talking about it, then people will be like, wait a minute. Yeah, what do you think of that now? Like, what about all this stuff? They probably don't want to remind any of us of all the egregious lies they told about Donald Trump specifically. So they're pretty quiet these days. But by the way, just let's go to this really quick on the Joe and Mika from Morning Joe, who you could argue have probably been the most aggressive critics of Donald Trump over the past, I'm going to say the 8 years that he, has been on the political scene. Maybe I would say 9, but not really, because I will never forget. They were the first people, by the way, listen to this story. I don't even know if this has been told out there. In New Hampshire, which was the first primary Donald Trump ever won in 2016. Guess who the first people who knocked on the door of the hotel room, like the suite that all of us as a family were in whenever we knew that he had officially won? It was Joe and Mika. Can you believe that? Wow. Yeah, they were there. It was great. Everybody was best friends. We're going to have a nice conversation. Let's do this together. And then all of a sudden, something turned, and man, they went really hard against Donald Trump. It is very interesting to see them creeping back in and coming back around. And look, I'm all for it. Let's put, the past in the past, and let's all move forward together for the betterment of America, because I think that that's what should happen, and I think that's what has to happen. But when do people apologize? When does anybody come out and say, hey, sorry for all of the lies we told about Donald Trump, our family? I mean, I'm still waiting for anybody to say anything to me. All the people who were real hot to come out and criticize me when I took the role as co-chair of the RNC, when I was, by the way, elected by the 168 members of the Republican National Committee. No one appointed me to anything. I got elected into that position. Everybody came out and was very critical of me in this role. I haven't heard anything from anybody lately. What do y'all think now? But they're never going to apologize, Sabrina. They're never going to come out and say any of this. And I think Donald Trump's statement a long time ago, which is that my revenge will be success, I think that is the greatest revenge of all. I don't even need to hear from any of the critics I had. Donald Trump doesn't really need to hear from any of the critics he had. You know how you silence your critics? You win and you do the job right. And that's exactly what happened here. I still continue to believe, though, Sabrina, that Donald Trump saying that success will unify us and bring us together, I think we're going to see that happen. And I actually feel like kind of how we started talking about all of this, the Trump dance, this is the start of it. This is unifying people. The fact that everybody's doing this now, don't you feel like it's starting to happen? How are you feeling, Sabrina, out there?
I feel so great. I mean, it's exciting being back 2 weeks after the election because I was on last 2 weeks before the election. And I mean, we were both confident, but it's exciting to see it all come to fruition. I think we're seeing especially a major cultural change. Like you said, they had the NFL dancers that are doing the dance. Everyone was so hyped to see Donald Trump and his crew rolling into the UFC fight this weekend. There is a major cultural shift. And I think that as much as I would love to see the mainstream media take accountability, I doubt they will. I think that they will either completely deflect and continue to wage the war that they've been waging for the past 8+ years on him, or they're going to try to like join in. Like you said, I mean, they went from, who was it? Morning Joe. They went from knocking on your hotel room a few years ago to now the opposite. I guarantee they'll be back trying to knock on the door now that they want some access.
Yeah. Mary, it feels good. And, you know, one of the people who I feel like really has gotten it, I don't necessarily think he went out and voted for Donald Trump. Maybe he sat this one out. I actually don't know, is Bill Maher. He seems to really get it. Like, I would say that he's probably more of a libertarian at this point than he is a Democrat, because he's been very critical of a lot of the dumb stuff that the Democrats have done. He's even said to the Democrat Party, like, listen, when you're in a hole, you need to stop digging. Like, you guys have really destroyed yourselves here. You've done this to yourselves. So maybe it's time to like back off, put the brakes on, and let's all learn from the mistakes. Some people, though, on the Democrat side, Mary, are not learning from those mistakes. One of them is Chicago's mayor, Brandon Johnson. He's also known as apparently the most hated mayor in America. And I think it's because he's got something like a 16% approval rating from his own constituents. That's pretty bad. But they're upset specifically with him. And you didn't think anyone could do worse than the last one they had in Chicago. But it turns out I think he can. And he's proving it every single day. They're upset and they're calling him the most hated mayor. I assume for one of the reasons is because he is being eviscerated by the residents of Chicago for suggesting more tax hikes. These people have already been taxed quite extensively due to the migrant crisis in the sanctuary city of Chicago. They're at a $1 billion deficit right now. He's proposing more tax hikes for Chicago residents to help with the migrants. He wants specifically $300 million more from the people of Chicago. And on top of that, I think people are upset because they're like, wait, I'm not paying this money. You're not doing anything for me. You're giving this to people who came here illegally, who are taking the resources of the people of the city of Chicago. And then on top of that, he's doubling down. And this is what I want to ask you. You have people like Brandon Johnson. You have people like the governor of New York, people who are out there on the Democrat side saying, hey, we're not going to work with Donald Trump and his deportation. Brandon Johnson said that the Chicago police would not be working with ICE agents and ICE to deport illegals in his city. So is it any wonder that the people of Chicago are very upset with him? And I just wonder from his perspective, like, what is this guy thinking? The people of this country came out and mandated they wanted change in this space. And a lot of people, by the way, in Illinois and Chicago came out and voted Republican for the first time. What is this guy thinking, Mary? What's the story?
That's what I'm so confused about. I mean, you literally saw the aldermen and the people of Chicago rise up and say, we want the migrants out of our communities. They're wrecking our communities. They're taking our jobs. They're taking our housing. It's making us poorer. You have to do something about this. And then he sits back and he says, well, I'll do something about it, but it's not exactly what you want. What I'm going to do is ensure these people stay in your communities, and I'm going to make you pay for it. And what reality does he think that that's going to swing voters in his area towards him? And in fact, I think that this is what it's going to do is it's going to see like a more Donald Trump type candidate running successfully in Chicago for the first time, because I can guarantee you, I have people that live in Chicago and they're in the areas that voted more Republican, and they are sitting back going, we want change, and not just a little bit of change. We want drastic change. We want something that's going to come in here and clean up our city. Chicago used to be so fun. My husband and I lived in Illinois when we were first married, and Chicago was a fun place to go into and enjoy and bring our kids to. And I would not take my kids in Chicago now. Like even the same places that you would go to, there's homeless people sitting outside, there's migrant camps, it's just not somewhere that you want to grow a family. And I think that that's what we're missing in our political discourse, especially in places like Chicago and New York City, is that families are being pushed out for these illegal immigrants. And that has to be a more pro-family atmosphere in order for it to succeed. And I think these residents are trying to say, hey, put a stop to this. And he's going, no, I'm actually going to bleed you dry. I'm going to take more money from you, more success from you. I'm going to take your American dream from you. And I think that's where I'm so confused. What are his political consultants like feeding him, that he thinks that this is like some good idea that he's going to double down on, or I'm going to put a stop to Trump and all of a sudden I'm going to be successful. And people, and even in California, people voted more Republican in California than ever before. And it's like, how did these Democrat governors, mayors, whoever sit back and go, oh no, we're going to stop working with Trump? It's like, no, the exact opposite. We want the exact opposite of that. We want you to go in and take these people out.
Yeah. And that's what Bill Maher's whole point is. Sabrina, he's like, if you look at the numbers, by the way, the shifts in some of these solid blue states were double-digit shifts to Donald Trump and Republicans. I mean, you've never seen, I've never seen in my lifetime anything like it. And if they are not going to pay attention to what the people of this country want, I don't know what to tell them. I don't think they're going to win any more elections. And I think Mary's right. I think, you're going to see the rise of more candidates like Donald Trump out there, because people want common sense. It's just common sense. Mary just talked about all the issues in Chicago. Think about the gun violence in Chicago. My God, I want to take my kids there. You go anywhere in Chicago, you're liable to get shot. How many times do we hear about these young kids who are like asleep in their bed getting shot by gang violence and stuff? And speaking of the gangs, Sabrina, Tren de Aragua, which is the Venezuelan gang that, of course, is famous for having taken over the Aurora, Colorado apartment complex. They're just not staying in Colorado. Don't kid yourself. They've now moved to Tennessee. They've now moved to apparently Utah. You have them exploding in Nashville, in Memphis, in Knoxville, in Chattanooga. This is becoming a real problem. And the people of these cities where, you see these people going are very nervous about it, and rightly so. Because this is one of the experts on this group said they go from human trafficking to organized retail crime theft, and then they move into the drug trade, taking on the cartels in very violent, bloody battles that they've had. This is what's going to end up happening in all of these cities. You had a couple of them who were arrested in Utah, by the way. This is a wild story. They broke into a home and they held 4 people at gunpoint. And I guess the argument was that there was some issue with some younger women that they had said were their women for some prostitution ring. Anyway, it's like a wild time that it's in Colorado, it's in Tennessee, it's in Utah of all places. And this is why the people, Sabrina, of America said, please, let's get Donald Trump back in the White House. We want these people deported. And I gotta question anybody, Sabrina, who would say, I don't know, I think we ought to let them stay here. What kind of sense is that? The story of MyPillow is a testament to faith and transformation. Mike Lindell, once battling addiction, found a new path when he embraced faith and began following Jesus. In gratitude, Mike is excited to share an exclusive offer with our listeners. Right now, the standard MyPillow is available for less than $15, a savings that's too good to pass up. There's a limit of 10 per customer, so don't wait to take advantage of this amazing deal now with promo code TRUMP. Mike believes God gave him the idea for MyPillow in a dream, and it's designed with your comfort in mind. The pillow holds its shape and adapts perfectly to your unique sleep position, helping keep your neck aligned for the best night's sleep. And there's more. Take home a 4-piece kitchen set for only $25. Enjoy their new mattress topper starting at just $99.99, or pick up the luxurious MyPillow bed sheets starting at $49.98. Visit mypillow.com and use promo code TRUMP to unlock huge discounts. Don't miss out. Order today.
Well, I mean, as Martha Raddatz said, it's just a couple of complexes now in a couple of cities in a couple of states. Like, one was too many. When is enough enough? I mean, especially when you lose the Senate, the House, the popular vote, the electoral, like, this has to be a wake-up call, especially in a lot of these liberal cities. But what's scary is that they're bleeding into these red states as well. I mean, look at Tennessee, Utah. That is terrifying, because these people, they are not just in there to battle with other gangs. They are there, as you mentioned, trafficking. They are, it's creating just so many dangerous cities, and they're not even sanctuary cities at this point.
Yeah, and we have to really think about what this could look like. If you imagine for a second, God forbid, I know we all feel good right now. We're in a good spot. Thank God Donald Trump won. Imagine Kamala Harris had won this election. Like, imagine we were going to be set up for 4 more years of what we just went through. And these people could really get a foothold in America. This is how it goes in Mexico. The Mexican government does not run Mexico. It is basically run by these drug cartels. They are so powerful. And once they come in and really get a hold of things, they don't let that go easily. Like, don't kid yourself. We've got to get Donald Trump back. I mean, I can't wait for January 20th to come around, because we got to get these people out of here. We've got the 15,000 people who are sexual assaulters, 13,000 murderers. You got the 350 on the terror watch list, just roaming around the country. Don't worry about anything. Everything's fine. Yeah, we got to get them out. Another reason, though, I can't wait, Mary, for January 20th is because I'm ready for DOGE. I'm ready for the Department of Government Efficiency. And I think it's so awesome that just look at the group of people. By the way, I saw this photo over the weekend, and it was Donald Trump, it was Elon Musk, it was RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, and it says all of these people used to be Democrats, and now they're all on the team basically to save the country. It is so cool to see this cultural shift and this awakening of people. And one of the ways that we're going to see things really moving in the right direction is the Department of Government Efficiency. And apparently federal spending since 2021 has increased by $2 trillion more per year. $2 trillion more per year. That's crazy. And that's the taxpayers. We're paying all that money. And they're saying at DOGE, we can drain the swamp of $2 trillion at least. They're going to go in and they're going to cut the fat and get rid of all of the nonsense and the wasteful spending. And I am just very hopeful for the future of this country now, for the first time in a long time. What do you think, Mary, of DOGE? What is it that you think will be? Wait, whose dog? Because I love a dog.
That's mine. It's mine. It's raining outside, and so of course he has to let me know that it's raining outside.
If you want to bring a dog right on camera, we're 100% pro that. We're very pro dog. One of the things we're not going to get rid of is cracking down on people who are bad to dogs. But tell me something you're very excited about, because I got to tell you some of the things that I know our government has been paying for. By the way, like trans monkeys gambling, monkeys on amphetamines, these sort of like wild things. I'm like, why on earth? It goes back to the shrimp on the treadmill. If you guys remember, like 10 years ago, there was some government study where there was a shrimp on a treadmill. And I'm going to tell you, in my heart of hearts, I believe that's the thing that put Donald Trump over the edge to ultimately run for president in 2015. What do you think of DOGE, Mary?
I think it's great. I want them to go in. I want them to go into the Department of Education, and I want them to start slashing and just ripping things away. I want them to go into the Department of Defense and just start ripping things away. I mean, we should not be paying to teach, Afghanis how to become transgenders. We should not be, promoting this wild ideology across the world. I mean, there are so many things that we can cut. And I think that I'm most excited about him going into our military, slashing things away, putting our military readiness at the forefront of the budget, as opposed to all of these woke ideologies. And and as a mother, the U.S. Department of Education needs an absolute overhaul. If we don't get rid of it, then it needs an overhaul.
Well, and one of the things I think, Sabrina, that's so refreshing is to hear that if you're not a person who's willing to come in and actually show up to work and do a job, then consider yourself done. Consider January 20th the last day you're ever going to be a government employee. By the way, the numbers that they've been pushing out there from the Biden-Harris administration in terms of job creation numbers have obviously been false. You had the 818,000 that they were like, actually, remember we said all those jobs were created. They really weren't. There has been somewhere in the neighborhood of like 600,000 of the jobs they say they created are government jobs. 600,000. That's crazy. What are these people doing? If you cannot show us that you're doing something that's worth our taxpayer money funding you, I think you got to go. But here's the thing with the government, and we all know this. They're not, Sabrina, out there trying to find like the best price on something. They're not price shopping and saying like, oh, who's going to give us the best value for this? Guess who did that? Donald Trump did that. Don't forget, whenever he was in the White House, he renegotiated for Air Force One. I think he went to Boeing and he was like, yeah, we're not going to pay all that money. So either you can come back to us with a much more reasonable price, or we're just not going to sign anything with you. And he got like millions and millions, maybe billions of dollars knocked off of the new Air Force Ones that just conveniently will be ready when Donald Trump is in a second term in office. Just saying. But there was something I read where, and this just shows you how little they care, Sabrina, about how they spend our money. There were in-flight soap dispensers, and I don't know even where they're using these, that were marked up nearly 8,000%. Are you kidding me? I mean, that every American should be outraged over that. That's what DOGE is about to spotlight and say, hey, here's where your money's been going. I think a lot of these people are probably nervous about showing how much of our money they've been spending just frivolously. Sabrina, what do you think?
Yeah, especially because these aren't just like careless little mistakes that are made. These are a lot of backdoor deals that are being done and so much corruption. I mean, cutting each other breaks. Like, I'm sure that there just happens to be someone in the White House whose friend runs a soap dispensing company. I mean, it's too many bizarre expenditures to just think it's a coincidence. I mean, one of the craziest ones I saw on this list was, I think we spent, let's see, I wrote it down somewhere. It was about $3 million to pump hamsters full of steroids and have them fight each other for a study. Like,
yeah, why wouldn't we do that?
The tip of the iceberg. I mean, 15 million for Fauci's private security post him. He's not even not elected. He's not even part of the administration anymore. It's wild. It's wild how much money. And I can't think of anyone better than Elon Musk and Vivek, because they have business backgrounds. They know what it takes to run a successful company. And everyone has realized that running our country successfully is very similar to running a business successfully, as we've learned with getting your father-in-law elected again.
Remember when Elon went into Twitter, now X? Remember all the employees that they got rid of? He went in and he was like, yeah, no, this is not going to work. You guys are not going to have like wine dispensers so that at 3:00 in the afternoon, you guys could, have a Cabernet on the house. If you're not here to do a job, you got to go. We're not going to take yoga breaks. We're not going to have all these baristas and stuff. Enough. Like, if this has got to be a serious business, and that's what we want to do with the federal government. It's funny because, for me, as the co-chair of the RNC, look, part of my job was to fundraise, and I'll go ahead and throw out there for my critics, more money raised by the RNC than ever in history. Just saying. But it's very important, and it was very important to me. Look, people are donating their money, especially at a time when times are tough. We're in the Biden-Harris economy right now. Bidenomics is working by way of making you, less financially sound, putting less money in your pocket. And it's really tough out there for a lot of people to make ends meet. So when people are donating their hard-earned money to the RNC and the Trump campaign, We want to be good stewards of that money. We don't want to waste it on things that are unnecessary. We don't want to waste it on anything. We want it to go to its highest and best use. And that's exactly how the federal government should be using our money. We shouldn't have 8,000% markups of soap dispensers on airplanes. Who cares if a hamster can fight when they're pumped full of steroids? What are we even talking about? Why are we doing these things? That is why I think this is going to be such Donald Trump says the golden age of America. It's going to be such an amazing 4 years. And I think there are a lot of people who are very nervous about a lot that's been kept in the dark and kept away from the American people being brought to light and being shown in all its colors out there to America, because there are people who've been doing the wrong thing with your money, with my money, and it's not right, and we have to change it. And I think the change is going to come with Donald Trump, of all people. And man, the Democrats, y'all get ready, because everything you said about him is if it already isn't obvious that it was wrong, you're going to be so wrong at the end of his 4 years.
And you know what they say, the sunlight is the greatest disinfectant.
Sure is.
So this is exactly what's going to happen these next 4 years. It's going to be great.
I can't wait. I'm really ready for it. Just before we go, I want to talk about the fact, the Kamala Harris campaign, $20 million in debt, despite the $1 billion apparently that she raised. And I thought it was interesting, we're seeing consistently the FEC reports come out of who was paid what during the time that Kamala Harris was running for president. Man, they paid a lot of people a lot of money. Megan Thee Stallion, 2 Chainz, Lady Gaga, Bon Jovi, Beyonce, Lizzo, Eminem, just everybody's just raking it in from the Kamala camp. And that led them to $20 million in debt. Thank God they're not in charge of our country and our economy here. Could you imagine? The staff, by the way, was told that they were going to be paid until year end, Mary. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to get paid because there's no money left. But what I really think was amazing is that Danica Patrick, who obviously is the famous race car driver, I've had the pleasure to get to know her over the past couple of months of campaigning. I've been out on the campaign trail with her. She is a lovely individual, a hard worker. She came out, she endorsed Donald Trump, and she was all over the country with me, with my father-in-law, with JD Vance. And she said, you know what? I want to come out and talk about how much I was paid by Donald Trump and the Trump campaign for my endorsement. Mary, $0.
$0.
I loved every second of it. Loved it.
I know. That's the best part about this is like you look at Trump's campaign and all of these people that came out to support him. He didn't have to have the millions of dollars to funnel to them to give it. And then when you look at someone like Oprah, who got paid $1 million to do that terrible sit down interview with her that just completely backfired. And you were looking at Oprah's face where she was like, are you not going to answer this question correctly? Let me help lead you into the correct answer. And then she comes out and she's like, oh, well, I wasn't paid $1 million. That was for the set and and the crew and all of these things. And then but then you juxtapose that against the fact that Kamala's own staff is not going to get paid now because of these terrible financial decisions. And then, of course, Donald Trump hilariously coming out going, for the sake of the country, maybe I'll just pay this $28 million bill for you just to reach across the aisle and be a good guy. And it's just the expert level trolling that comes out of Trump. And I think that that's going to be another fun thing to watch over these next 4 years, the memes that come out of, Vivek and Elon slashing the budget and then Trump just kind of controlling the world and all of those things. I think it's going to be really great.
It's a good time, Sabrina. What do you think?
Yeah. I remember the Democrats just a couple of weeks ago bragging about how much Kamala had fundraised and how much she was spending. And I was like, this is not a brag. What are they thinking saying this out loud? And I actually did have a TikTok video that went kind of viral because I started noticing a few months ago a major shift between the influencers and celebrities that were endorsing Trump, who seemed so happy to be doing it. They were getting pulled on stage unexpectedly and they were not paid to do it. And then meanwhile, you had all these influencers and Democrats and a lot of influencers that exposed the Harris campaign and were showing receipts of being offered large amounts of money to endorse her. And so I felt like the people that were endorsing Kamala were either being paid off or some of them felt like they had to so they wouldn't be canceled by their very left-leaning audiences, which I called Harris hostages, where they would do these weird videos about how we need to save democracy, and they looked so nervous and scared, and then they would endorse her.
What was the Harrison Ford one? Why did he do that? Harrison Ford, I just
It's
wanted
unnecessary.
I love Indiana Jones. Please,
Yeah.
why did we
You
do
know,
that?
quit ruining all the things I like by being stupid like this.
By the way, I got to be honest, if you don't have the gumption to stand up for what you really believe, if you hid back there, you know, if
Mhm.
you were one of these celebrities who felt forced, I think you're right, Sabrina. I think a lot of them probably felt like
Mhm.
they had to do it, got a lot of pressure to do it.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the guts to really go with what you knew in your own conscience was the right thing and actually how you felt, you know, you got to answer to yourself. You got to deal with yourself and you got to internalize that for the rest of your life. I hate to tell you, my conscience is clear. It always has been. I have never wavered for a second in terms of where I stand and who I voted for. And I mean, it's my last name, so it's hard to get away from. But you know, I think it's been amazing because I kind of feel like when we go back and really dissect this election and this campaign, I mean, there was so much that happened. You had, of course, it started with the Biden Trump debate. Obviously, that was sort of like the beginning of everything. And then from there, we had an assassination attempt. We had the RNC. We had Joe Biden saying, "Oh, I'm just going to drop out. You mean be forced out?" We had the DNC, we had all the fake interest in Kamala Harris, all of it. When you go back and look at piece by piece, just hearing one of you were just talking about the Oprah interview, how uncomfortable Oprah looked. They're going to go back and they're going to realize every single thing they did was the wrong thing to do. And it's just kind of amazing to be alive right now and say, like, we got to live through all of that. And I just feel like the postmortem on all of it, there will hopefully be a lot of lessons learned because the American people, I think, were just grossed out by all of it. It was fake.
Yeah.
It was phony. It was gross. And, you know, the good news is I feel like the right person won and America and the world will be better off because of it. And to both of you ladies, thank you for your support. And thanks for coming on the show previously. Thank you for coming on with us today. We appreciate you both. To Mary and Sabrina and everybody at home, as always, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. We'll see you back here for more of The Right View.
And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Nothing is worse than being on a phone call that drops. Nothing is worse than trying to text someone and you can't reach them because your phone is out of service range. And nothing is worse than supporting these major corporations and companies who don't support us. That is why I love Patriot Mobile. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless network. They use every cell tower out there available to all networks so that they have the greatest 4G and 5G coverage nationwide, and they support the causes that are important to us as conservatives. If you go today to patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump and use the promo code Trump, you will get free activation today. Again, that is patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump. The promo code is Trump for free activation so that you can get a great cell plan and feel good about doing it.